Hi guys! Our guest today is the hydrangea plant. Around the world, hydrangeas are one of the most widely grown ornamental plants. They make great cut flowers and handle shade well, suitable for many conditions. They are also considered easy to grow and adapt well to different climates. Despite this ease of care, there are small quirks in growth that often trip up gardeners growing hydrangeas for the first time. If you've made any of these mistakes, don't worry, you're not alone. Knowledge of where things can go wrong and what to avoid will help keep your hydrangeas thriving and, most importantly, flowering. 1. Impatience when it comes to color changing. As I mentioned, you can change the color of most hydrangeas through altering the pH of the soil. You can do this by adding certain alkaline or acidic substances, which will gradually turn the soil alkaline or acidic. However, the key word here is gradually. If you want to change the color of your hydrangeas, you can't do it quickly. The process can even take up to a year. 2. Planting in full sun. Most hydrangeas are also not suitable for full sun positions. Any more than 6 hours of direct sunlight per day, especially in the afternoons when sunlight is more intense, is likely to lead to problems with growth. Hydrangea leaves and blooms are susceptible to scorching when the light levels are too high. The previously green and glossy leaves will develop unsightly brown patches that make the entire plant look diminished. These patches also won't turn green again if conditions improve and will need to be pruned to tidy the plant. When it comes to flowers, they will not only burn, but also fade incredibly quickly. Hydrangea flowers are sensitive to heat and light and won't last long when both are too strong. Excessive sunlight will also cause the soil to dry out far quicker, depriving the plant of moisture and limiting flowering. Some species are better at handling sunlight than others, but it's best to stick to a shadier protected spot to keep these plants happy. 3. Planting in heavy shade. Hydrangeas are known for their ability to thrive in shady areas. In fact, they are one of the most widely grown ornamental plants in shade gardens. But that doesn't mean they can be thrust into darkness and expected to grow successfully. In order for your hydrangea to flower, it needs some partial sunlight throughout the day. This can mean a few hours of direct morning sun or filtered light through the shade of a nearby tree. Many gardeners make the mistake of planting under dense trees that don't allow any sunlight through, later wondering why their hydrangea is not flowering. 4. Planting in the wrong soil. Hydrangeas are not known as incredibly fussy plants. They can grow in and adapt to a few different soil types, appreciating well-draining and nutrient-rich soil the most. But, as adaptive as they are, these plants cannot handle poor draining soil or soil severely lacking in nutrients. 5. Watering incorrectly. Hydrangeas love moisture, but also can't sit in waterlogged soil. The right balance will keep the roots cool and hydrated, giving you the best possible blooms and glossy foliage above the soil. Avoid watering too often, especially when drainage is not good, as this can quickly lead to root rot. If conditions don't improve, the entire root system will become mushy and the plant will die. Wait until the soil has dried out slightly before you consider watering again, taking recent rainfall in your area into account. At the same time, don't wait too long to water. Lack of moisture and inconsistent watering will lead to stress, limiting new growth and preventing flowering. Water is an essential component in photosynthesis, and without it, your hydrangeas cannot grow. Watering technique also makes a difference in growth. Avoid watering overhead where possible, focusing the stream of water on the soil only. This keeps the leaves dry and prevents the proliferation and spread of damaging fungal diseases. 6. Over-fertilizing. Fertilizing hydrangeas is recommended if you want the biggest and best blooms possible. However, too much fertilizer is never a good thing and can lead to more problems than it attempts to solve. An imbalance in nutrients in the soil can burn the roots, stunt growth, and prevent flowering. Hydrangeas don't need to be fertilized often, typically once per season before flowering if your soil quality is good. The type of fertilizer you use will also differ depending on the species of hydrangea you are growing. 7. Forgetting weeding. Weeding is a task that can never be forgotten or put off till the last minute. One of the major problems with weeds is that they take over quickly and spread rapidly, making their removal later on far more difficult. Weeds around your hydrangeas will compete for water and nutrients, two things hydrangeas need quite a lot of. Regular weeding will prevent this competition, creating the space for your plants to grow unhindered. This is especially important for newly planted hydrangeas that are just establishing. 8. Pruning at the wrong time. The final mistake is one many hydrangea growers make, especially those new to these plants. Hydrangea pruning is a technical task that needs to be done carefully season after season. If you prune incorrectly, you may end up getting no flowers at all the following year. For hydrangeas that bloom on old wood, buds will develop at the end of the flowering season. These buds remain on the plant and turn into flowers next year. If you cut these off while pruning, there will be none to produce flowers the following summer. Start by determining which type of hydrangea you have and how it flowers. Then you can prune confidently knowing you are not negatively impacting future growth. Hydrangeas are wonderful additions to any ornamental garden if you know how to care for them correctly. Avoid these common mistakes and you should have no trouble harvesting blooms season after season. I will also answer a frequently asked question about hydrangeas and finish the video. How to change the color of a hydrangea. Love your hydrangea blooms but want to change up their color? Many hydrangeas will go through a slight color change when transplanted due to adjusting to their new soil when you first bring them home. But if you really want to shake things up, try changing the color of hydrangea flowers with this simple little soil hack. Hydrangea varieties such as Hydrangea macrophylla and Hydrangea serrata can range in color from pink to blue, with every shade of fuchsia, plum, and periwinkle in between. The blooms can change color based on the amount of aluminum the plants absorb from the soil, which depends on the soil pH. High levels of aluminum in the soil plus an acidic soil pH will generate the coveted bright blue to purple flowers. Less aluminum in the soil and/or alkaline soil will create a variation of pink blooms. Not all hydrangea species change color, however. White ones do not change, and some varieties are bred for a specific color palette. And before you get too excited, you cannot change the intensity of the hydrangea color, that is more dependent on the environment or weather. Although I must say that changing the hydrangea bloom color so drastically is pretty darn exciting. But I'll admit that the process isn't easy. It can take well over a year to change the pH of your soil and it requires quite a bit of work. Instead, I suggest becoming content with the hydrangea colors you already have. If you really want a pink or blue hydrangea, I suggest buying a variety that's already in that color. This is the best way to ensure you get the color you want.